So as part of the 1930s renovation that we're working on at the moment, we are probably, what, 2/3 of the way through or something like that. The new windows are in, the plastering's done, and we've got up to the point where we need to sort this windowsill come step thing out. It was like really wobbly, wasn't held down very well, and we needed to work out what was going on. And I've taken it out, and it's revealed problems that are unfortunately systemic to just bad building practice, not recently, but over many, many years, where effectively, literally, problems have just been swept under the carpet. Let me show you the horror story that is under this step. So just to give you a bit of background, this is a very typical older UK house. In terms of semi-detached properties, it really doesn't get any more basic than this. 2 bedrooms and a small bathroom upstairs, a dining room, living room and small kitchen downstairs. It's a really lovely little house, but the poor thing has been through a lot over the years. After surviving World War II, it's then had to contend with a botched bathroom installation, leaving multiple points of cold bridging. The old bathroom floor was so badly installed the joists had rotted away to dust. Wood panelling was hiding a multitude of problems ranging from no proper cavity through to the damp-proof course being bridged all over the place. The kitchen had severe damp and mould issues caused by leaky appliances and multiple points of cold bridging. There was an old lead water supply to deal with, various wiring add-ons that looked like this. The plaster was literally falling off the walls. The doors and windows were rotten, the central heating boiler had been badly installed in one of the bedrooms, and the drains were blocked, cleared and blocked again by our own plasterers. Don't get me started on that one. The important thing to remember here though is that this isn't an unusual house in the UK. All older UK houses are like this and are often much worse. So we've been gradually working through a very big list of repairs to bring this property back to life. Okay, anyway, rightfully or wrongly, one thing that is on the list that I do need to take a look at is what on earth is going on with this. It's at a really, really jaunty angle and it's very bouncy. I have got no idea why it's like that. And at this stage of the project, I really don't want any more unknowns. I don't want any horror stories under here. So I think we need to get this up and have a look. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Ooh. Well, that's interesting. So we've got lots of... Oh, okay. Let me remove these death nails. I think, as per usual, the builders have just dumped all their rubble. I think I might take these bricks out because they're loose anyway. Wasn't anticipating that, so there we go. What a mess. So that's right, folks. The reason this step was a bit bouncy is because it was literally just sitting on top of builders' rubble and dust. It's not been like there's not even been an attempt to sort this out properly. This has been added on, but it's been added on quite a long time ago. I would suggest, from the bricks that have been used, what, 1960s? But this is just years and years and years of crap that's just been kind of chucked under here. So what I'm going to have to do is fix this properly. If I can just get all this rubbish out, which is blatantly bridging the DPC. That'll probably help matters, but I do have to be a bit careful because, as I say, we've got all our new windows and plastering's all done and everything. I mean, at the end of the day, this cavity is going to be bridged at the bottom all the way around the house. There's like nothing really that you can do about that, not easily. But at least we can get this bit cleared out a bit. I don't know if you can see, a bit difficult to get the camera in, but somewhere under there is a wall plate and we need to expose it basically. Look at all this. There it is. Amazingly, those joists are actually absolutely fine. All this sort of stuff is what you're up against with older properties, unfortunately. And then you leave it long enough, if that wall plate rots away or these joist ends rot away, you've got major problems. So this is all cleaned out and I've just roughly laid some bricks in here because my original plan was basically to rebuild what would have originally been here. But there is only one proper way of fixing this. And unfortunately, even at this stage of the project where we thought we were nearly finished with demolition works, we are back making a mess again. And folks, I think we'll wrap that one up there. This is now absolutely solid as a solid thing. Ain't going anywhere. Will last for at least another 100 years or so. So this little trim here, by the way, is just temporary because the flooring is going to fly under this, and then we'll decide what trim's going over the top of that. But it's just to kind of make it look nice for the video. And obviously you're not getting to see this project completely finished because there's still skirting boards to go down, flooring, all the decoration, etc, etc. So if you do want to see the project completely finished, do subscribe and you'll get to see this whole renovation from start to finish once everything is actually done. But to answer my original question, or to kind of talk a little bit about the topic of this video, are British houses basically trash? Well, I've worked in a lot of British houses, mainly in the northeast of England, so maybe kind of things are different in different parts of the UK, but in the northeast, I've seen all sorts of problems with houses, problems with new builds, problems with older houses, and just things that you would not believe. And a lot of the things are very frustrating because they're utterly avoidable. Things like this, where obviously whenever they've put the original patio doors in, probably 30, 40 years ago at least, they've thought, well, what should we do with the windowsill? And they've just thought, well, we've got all this spare rubble, let's just sweep it all into the floor and shove a bit of wood on top. And by the time the carpets are down and the place is painted, no one will care. And I don't know the background behind why that happened. Maybe the previous owner didn't want to pay the tradesman to do the job properly. Maybe the previous owner had a bit of a spat with the tradesman. The tradesmen weren't particularly happy with the customer. And this was an ex-council property, so it could well have been done in the days of when the council used to maintain this house many, many years ago. And believe me, I mean, council houses, ex-local authority houses can be really, really solid, but there's plenty evidence of bodgers over the years of this being a council house where things have literally just been swept under the carpet and problems haven't been resolved properly. They've just been covered up, jobs done as cheaply as it can possibly be, and ultimately at some point someone's got to come round and either fix the problems or demolish the house. That is ultimately your options, because all of these problems over time will eventually eat away at the fabric of the house. You'll end up with rotten joists, woodworm, cold bridging, damp, all sorts of issues that stem back to root cause problems such as this. And yes, okay, it took, say, half a day to fix this problem. A day since I was filming it, because it takes a little bit longer when I'm filming projects. But maybe the tradespeople who originally did this job just simply didn't have time. For whatever reason, they were busy, they had other stuff in their schedule, and they just didn't have time to finish this section of the job off properly. And there's also a possibility that they didn't even lift this windowsill when they were putting the patio doors in, because I don't know what was there before that. So this could have been stemming back, you know, back to when the house was first built, for all I know. I have no idea. But here's the thing. I've travelled the world a fair bit, and I've seen houses in a lot of different countries, and I've seen well-built houses, and I've seen problems, and I've seen houses that look really good on the surface where a problem is just going to arise later down the line. And then you run into things where, for example, houses in hot climates don't really have to worry about cold bridging and damp and all the associated problems that you have to deal with in a British house. Although we don't really get extremes of weather, it never gets that cold, it never gets that wet, it never gets that hot, but we do have to deal with every type of weather. That's why most British houses don't have air conditioning, for example, because yes, we do get hot weather, maybe on like 1 or 2 days a year, but certainly not to the extent where it warrants putting air conditioning into every home. If you can afford air conditioning, go for it. But for the 1 or 2 days a year in the northeast of England where it's hot enough to warrant it, yeah, it's not really worth the hassle. So I think my point is, if you go back in history to almost any point in time, you're going to find that things have been done to a budget and to meet whatever the requirements are of that particular customer, or just what materials were available at the time. I mean, God, this house was built just before the start of World War II. And ultimately, if you look hard enough in any property of any age, in any country, you are going to find bodges and things done badly, and maybe things done in a way that now you look back and it's like, why did they do that? Back then it might have been state of the art, you know. So all of these things, you've just got to chip away and fix them. And that's what my job has been for a long time. Even when I wasn't professionally working in this kind of industry, I was still renovating houses. I've been scuttling about under floorboards since I was about 8 years old. My dad was an electrician and I used to help him out, and effectively I was kind of his apprentice when I was much younger. But all of this comes back to something I've mentioned in several videos over the years. And as long as you leave a job site better than when you left it, then that is the most important thing. As long as you're chipping away and fixing things and making things better than they were before, then everything will be rosy. It's at the point that you leave a job site worse than when you started, for example by sweeping all of your rubbish under the floor or hiding all your rubble under a windowsill. That's when basically all you're doing is creating more work for someone else later down the line. So it's a net negative, if you like. But as long as what you're doing is a net positive, then we all kind of progress and we all benefit from that. Don't we, girls and boys? Folks, as per usual, if you want to see this entire renovation from start to finish, as I say, do hit the subscribe button. If you want to see every little detail of this and you want to go into the real nitty-gritty of what's going on a day-by-day basis, head over to the member zone. There's a link down in the description below. But folks, just to summarise, no, British houses aren't trash. They're just like every other house. They need to be repaired, they need to be maintained. Some things are done really well, some things aren't done so well, but as long as we fix them and make them better than they were before, then everything will be dandy. Folks, as per usual, look after one another, be nice to each other. We shall see you next time. Tatty bye. That was the longest outro ever.